Alright guys, today is January the 16th, 2020. We are going to be talking about multiplying binomial by binomial, meaning there's two terms. We're going to be multiplying, there's two terms inside the parentheses, and then there's another set of parentheses also being multiplied. When we multiply binomials, we're going to be using something called FOIL, where it's your first terms multiplied, then the outer terms, then the inner terms, and then the last terms. Okay, so when it says the first, it's talking about these two. These first two you're going to multiply. Well, we know that x times x, we have two x's being multiplied, so it's x squared. So x times x is x squared, then x times 2, those would be the outer, because they're on the outside of our binomials here. And that's going to be x times 2 is going to be 2x, right? X times x is x squared, x times 2 is 2x. Then we're going to change to the next term in the parentheses, and that's 1. Then it's going to be 1 times x. Well, that's 1x, and 1 times 2, so that's 2. Because all of these are positive, I'm putting a plus between every term that I've multiplied. My answer, I have a plus between all of them. Always when you do this correctly, your middle terms will combine because they're like terms. So that's x squared plus 3x plus 2. Only the middle two terms combine. And then this one has nothing to combine with, and neither does this one, so you just bring them down. And that's our answer. We end up with a trinomial, meaning three terms separated by a plus or a minus. Let's do it again. X times x squared, times x is x squared, and x times negative 2, negative 2x. Then it's negative 6 is our next term, times x, and it will give me a negative 6x, and negative 6 times a negative 2 is a positive 12. I know we call it the FOIL method, but I like to call it the rainbow method because it looks a little bit more like a rainbow. Your middle two terms, you have two negatives, so they will add and give me a negative 8. Then you bring down the x squared in the front and the plus 12 in the back. Number 3. X times x is x squared, x times 4, positive 4x. Then negative 2 times x is negative 2x, negative 2 times 8, negative 8. In the middle, we end up with a positive and a negative. Since they're different signs, you subtract. Really, you just see it, it's 4 minus 2. It's a positive 2x. Okay. X times x is x squared, x times 2, 2x. Negative 5 times x, negative 5x, negative 5 times 2, negative 10. Middle two terms, again, they're different signs. That's a positive 2 and a negative 5. We subtract and keep the sign of the larger one, or just 2 minus 5 will give me a negative 3. All right. I'm going to skip number 5 for sake of our time here. 6 is 3m times m is 3m to the power of 2. If you want, you can think of it as there's a 1 in front of the m. 3 times 1 is just 3. M times m is m squared. Then 3m times 2 will be positive 6m. And then negative 6 times m is negative 6m. Negative 6 times 2, negative 12. Well, here, our middle two terms, they will combine. 6 minus 6 is 0, so they cancel each other out. Oops. So we just bring down everything else. 3m squared, and the 12. Because the regular m's, without exponent of 2, just regular m's, cancel each other out. Number 7, 3x times 2x. 3 times 2 is 6. X times x is x squared. then 3x times negative 4, negative 12x, then negative 4 times 2x, negative 8x, the negative 4 times the negative 4 is a positive 16. Careful, don't go putting an 8 or anything like that. Negative 4 times the negative 4 is a positive 16. Then the middle two terms will combine to give me a negative 20. Okay. Because negative 12 minus another 8 puts me more in the hole, right? Negative 20. Number 8, you have a fraction. 2/3 y times y is 2/3 y squared. 2/3 times 6, well, I'm going to do it here on the sides. If I have 2/3 times 6, I'm going to put 6 over 1 so I can multiply as a fraction. 2 times 2 is 12. And 3 times 1 is 3. And 12 divided by 3 is 4. So when I do 2/3 times 6, I end up with a positive 4y. Okay? And we're going to move on to the 4 times y, which is 4y. And 4 times 6, 24. The middle terms again will combine. You have 4y and 4y, so my answer is 2/3 y squared, and 4 plus 4 is a positive 8y. Bring down the 24. Alright, almost done. On number 9 and number 10, you have a binomial being squared. Well, when it's a binomial, you have to write it twice. It's not properties of exponent, okay? Don't get that confused. So it means if it's raised to the power of 2, it means to multiply it times itself twice. If this had a power of 3 or an exponent of 3, then you would write this 3 times. Well, I can only do 2 at a time, so x times x is x squared, x times negative 4, negative 4x. Then we move on to the negative 4 times the x, negative 4x, and negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. So remember, you're going to start with the first one and multiply it times the 2 things on the other parentheses, then the second term in the first parentheses times the 2 things on the other parentheses. That gives me a negative 8x plus 16. Almost done. We have 3n plus 5 times itself twice. So I have to do the first number times both terms on the second set of parentheses. So that will give me 9n squared and 15n. Then we do the second number in the parentheses times both terms on the second parentheses, and that'll be 15n, and 5 times 5 is 25, right? The last, so this one times this one, and then this one times this one. All right, the middle two terms, so we have 2 15s. They will combine because they both have an n, so they're like terms, and that gives me a 30n. Bring down the 9 squared, bring down the plus 25. All right, the back side is our practice. I do want to let you know that it's asking for area. We know area is a length times width. Well, here they're giving me a square, so I know a square, all sides are the same, so the length and the width are the same. And here they're giving me length and the width. Careful, one is a minus, one is a plus. Well, area is length times width, and that's what I'm finding. So it's x plus 4 times x plus 4. But I want the length to be multiplied by the whole width, and if I write it like that, that would be wrong, because it looks like only these two get multiplied, and that's wrong. So if you put parentheses, it keeps our dimensions together, and I can see that the whole length needs to be multiplied by the whole width. So I will multiply x times x, and then x times 4. Then I will multiply 4 times x, and 4 times 4. My answer will be the area in an algebraic expression. Okay, so that's what you do for 11, 12, and 13, and number 16. It's going to be the same thing. On 14, you're going to get rid of the parentheses. If there's nothing in front of the parentheses but a plus, you can remove the parentheses here because I cannot combine if I have parentheses. But then in the second set of parentheses, I have a minus. Well, that means I'm going to distribute a negative 1. Negative 1 times 6 is negative 6x. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. Then all I have to do is combine like terms. On number 15, you are going to multiply or distribute this 3/2 n times n, and then times 4/3, and then you will combine like terms. And that is our practice for this assignment. Please make sure you do it if you were absent.